Banjo and Kazooie is a game that focuses on, well, Banjo and Kazooie. But today's video is going to focus on the transformations. While these transformations are still technically Banjo and Kazooie, I like to think they each have their own unique personalities, and I'm pitting them against each other to see which transformation can beat more of Banjo Kazooie than the rest. Let's meet the contenders. They may be small, but their bite is mighty. Give it up for Crocodile. They may love the cold, but they're here to bring the heat. It's Walrus. I hope your dad's beekeeping age. Make some noise for bee. Are they a vegetable or a fruit? They'll never tell. It's Pumpkin. Hope you have house insurance, because this next contender is silent and deadly. Let's hear it for Termite. These will be the 5 transformations fighting for the title of the best transformation. Make sure to like this video to show your support for your favorite. This means, sorry washing machine fans, this transformation will not be included. The washing machine transformation is a secret transformation in the game, and is more of a different skin of Banjo and Kazooie than a proper transformation. You still have access to Banjo and Kazooie's moveset with only a few limitations, so it would be boring to include them. Plus, I already made a whole video on beating the game as the washing machine, which you should definitely watch after this. This tournament will be taking place in 2 phases. The first phase is seeing how far each transformation can go in the game on their own, with the only rule being no glitches or cheats allowed, with the exception being the cheat we're using to even do this right now. Up first is the Termite. In Spiral Mountain, there are 6 extra honeycomb pieces. Let's see how many the Termite can collect. Looks like the stump is a little too high for them to reach. Looks like this ledge is a little too far to jump to. And without any attack moves, these boulders and giant flying cabbage are just too strong for the Termite. But it looks like the water is no problem for the Termite, and they snag the honeycomb piece here, giving them a total of 1 out of 6 honeycombs. Next is Momo's Mountain, and if there was any place the Termite would thrive, it should be here, as this is their level. They have no problem collecting the jiggies that are literally there for the taking, and of course, no problem climbing to the top of the Termite hill. They also outmaneuver Conga and his orange throwing attacks to pick up this jiggy. It looks like that might just be it though for the Termite. You can see their determination here to reach the jiggy in Mumbo's eye, but they just don't have the height unfortunately. But do they have the distance to reach this Jinjo? Oh, so close. They are not giving up though. They are determined to save this Jinjo. That's right, collecting 5 Jinjos in each level will grant you a jiggy, and the Termite clearly wants that jiggy. They did it. They actually did it. But it's for nothing, as the Termite once again can't jump high enough to reach this Jinjo, even with the help of the nearby enemy. And they definitely don't have the bone structure to break down this hut where another Jinjo is. That means leaving Momo's Mountain, the Termite was able to collect 4 jiggies, which is not bad, as well as 95 out of the 100 notes, allowing them to proceed to the next area of Grunty's lair. Except there's one problem. Transformations are not able to open note doors. Oh dear. It looks like the judges will bend the rules ever so slightly here and allow transformations to transform back into Banjo to open note doors only. Not sure what we're looking at here, but let's continue. Unlocking the next level, Treasure Trove Cove, requires 2 jiggies. That's no problem for the Termite, but there is a big problem, and that's getting into the level. The entrance is inside this giant chest that we've seen time and time again is too big of a height for the Termite to reach. The Termite is determined though. If they were going to get into this level, they would have to take the leap from this nearby cliff. Well, it's been over 30 minutes and a valiant effort from the Termite, but this seems to be the end of the Termite's journey. And it would be a fate the Pumpkin and Walrus would face as well. The Pumpkin was also very close multiple times, and the Walrus, well, it was nice to see them try. That means these 3 transformations are eliminated just before Treasure Trove Cove, but don't worry, we'll see them again shortly. However, this next transformation has something the others don't have, and that's a bite attack. In comes the Crocodile. After collecting all the same notes and jiggies as the Termite in Momo's Mountain, the Crocodile is determined to keep going, and with their chomp attack, they are able to do just that, as their chomp while mid-air gives them the extra bit of time in the air needed to make it inside the chest. Let's see how they do in this uncharted territory. It's interesting to see that despite having a chomp attack, the enemies in this level are completely unharmed, likely because the Crocodile was never intended to be here. But they are still able to use their chomp attack to break down beehives. They have no problems grabbing the jiggy on the side of the cliff here, as well as the jiggy in this pond. Oh, but what's this? The Crocodile seems to be stuck with no way out. I guess this is one crocodile that can't swim. They will definitely have to be cautious of bodies of water like this, but with a save and quit, they can get out and back to the competition. They make easy work of climbing up to the lighthouse to collect more notes, quite impressive, but there seems to be no way for them to reach the top of the lighthouse where another Jiggy waits. The Crocodile also has no problems collecting these bars of gold, but they lack the ability to hand it over to Blubber. That seems to be it for the Crocodile in Treasure Trove Cove. 2 Jiggies and 71 notes. And that just won't cut it. Unlocking the next level requires 5 Jiggies, and the Crocodile only has 4 right now. But even if they manage to collect 1 more Jiggy, they can't reach the puzzle of the next level, which typically requires using the jump pad. So this is where the Crocodile's journey ends, just before Clanker's cavern. Next up is the bee. As we can see, the bee has a big advantage with their flying ability, and compared to the other transformations, can collect 3 out of the 6 extra honeycombs in Spiral Mountain. The bee does have one big disadvantage though, and that's water. They have a crippling touch of aquaphobia, fear of water. Just touching the water automatically makes them cringe and fly away. It'll be interesting to see how this fear impacts them in this competition. In Bumbo's Mountain, the bee can only collect 89 notes, as they can't get wet and collect the notes in the water here. But they make up for it by being able to grab the Jiggy in Mumbo's Eye, which is one Jiggy the other transformations can't collect. Moving on to Treasure Trove Cove, the bee just can't help show off how easy it is for them to get into the level. No doubt the bee is going to be the one to beat in this competition. The bee makes quick work at this level collecting Jiggies, the Jiggy in this cave, the Jiggy in this other cave, the Jiggy on top of the lighthouse, and the Jiggy in this evil chest. Very impressive. The Jiggy in the pond is of course not going to be collected, but do they even need to? They have the Jiggies needed to continue on to the next level. The bee also managed to collect 4 out of the 5 Jinjos, but the last Jinjo is here under the pier. I will take my hat off to the bee. They did push through their fears and flew under the pier, hoping that they would be pushed into the water enough from the pier. But the bee is so powerful that they can fly through it. Remarkable. That means leaving Treasure Trove Cove, the bee collected 4 Jiggies and was able to collect 77 notes. 6 more notes than the Crocodile, as the bee could reach the notes at the top of the lighthouse and on some higher cliffs. Next is Clanker's cavern, which the bee can unlock and get into. But this will be the bee's biggest challenge. That's right. That's because Clanker's cavern is a level that's full of water. Specifically, the main area with Clanker, that is only connected to the entrance area by an underwater tunnel. This does not look good for the bee. Wait, it looks like the bee has found a loophole and a way into the main area. I can't believe it. It appears the developers did not put a ceiling in Clanker's cavern, and the bee is taking advantage of that. Ooh, but it looks like the judges have consulted, and they are not allowing this. This is being considered cheating. Perhaps a controversial decision for any bee fans. If this was allowed, then where do we draw the line? Because if this was allowed, then the bee could just fly into many other levels without unlocking them. And that's just too unfair for these other transformations who can barely jump into a chest. That means the bee is limited to this entrance area where there are no Jiggies, only 8 notes. And with that, the bee has been eliminated. That means the bee can go the farthest in Banjo Kazooie, with the Crocodile coming in second and the Walrus, Termite, and Pumpkin tying for third, which in this case is also last. But that was the first phase. For the second phase of this tournament, the judges have unlocked all the levels, allowing each transformation to tackle each level and see how many Jiggies and notes they can collect in each. We haven't seen the Pumpkin and Walrus in action yet, but both these transformations are able to collect the same and only extra honeycomb as the Termite and Crocodile in Spiral Mountain, and the same Jiggies and notes in Mumbo's Mountain. The Pumpkin and Termite can also collect the same amount of Jiggies and notes as the Crocodile in Treasure Trove Cove. The Walrus, though, really struggled in this tropical paradise. Now, I'm not one to comment on someone's body, but it's clear the Walrus is more hefty than the other transformations, and long jumps are not their strong suit. For the Termite, Pumpkin, and Crocodile, reaching these 2 Jiggies meant making 2 jumps. The jump from this cliff onto this crate, and then the jump from the crate onto here. The Walrus surprisingly made this first jump, but just didn't have what it takes to make the second. It was a very good effort though, and the Walrus's efforts are not going unnoticed by the judges. But because they couldn't make this jump, that means the Walrus can only collect 59 notes. Back to Clanker's cavern. If there is any level these other transformations could beat the bee at, it should be this level. Let's see how the Pumpkin does. Impressive maneuvering to get onto this pipe. Here comes the jump. Well done. And another maneuver onto the top. Now they can collect the 8 notes in this area. Falling would mean having to climb this ladder, which we know a pumpkin can't do. Now into the underwater tunnel leading to Clanker. For those who don't know, freeing Clanker requires swimming down to this deep underwater pit, and swimming through this key 3 times. Doing this spawns a Jiggy, and with Clanker raised, that unlocks a whole new area of this level with more Jiggies to collect. Can the pumpkin do it? There appears to be some technical issues with the camera. The pumpkin is at the bottom of the pit, but the key appears to not be loaded on the screen. However, zooming in shows the key is there. Looks like the pumpkin will have to do some blind jumping to unlock Clanker. The only indication they are doing it will be the sound of the key turning. It does not look like the pumpkin can do it. They just don't have the height in their jump. Or it's just so hard to see that they just keep missing it. Let's see how the crocodile does. We can't see, but I can hear the sound of the key turning. Their chomp attack must be what allows them to get through that keyhole. There it is. Clanker is free. But if that wasn't a challenge enough, now the crocodile needs to figure out a way to get onto Clanker to collect the Jiggy. This does not look good. All that effort for nothing. These murky waters are deep and barren, and with nothing to utilize to reach Clanker's fins, that means the crocodile cannot collect any Jiggies in this level. The result, the other transformations would also face. Here are the results of Clanker's cavern. The pumpkin, termite, and gator can collect the most notes with 29 notes. The walrus can collect 21 notes. They collect 8 less notes because they can't make it onto the pipe in the entrance area. And the bee can only collect the 8 notes in the entrance area. On to Bubble Gloop Swamp. This level is home to the crocodile, so this is a level they should do the best in. Let's see how they do. Looks like they have no issues fucking up these frogs with their chomp and collecting this Jiggy. They are also able to enter Mr. Vile's house and collect the Jiggy from beating his minigame. That does look to be like the only 2 Jiggies they can collect, as almost every other Jiggy requires beak busting, and the only ginger they can't reach is the one on this large reed. As for notes, the crocodile collects 85 of them. Let's see how the bee does. Without an attacking move, there's no chance at killing these frogs. And the bee can't squeeze their booty into Mr. Vile's small hole. I mean, the small hole leading to inside his house. But they can collect the Jiggy from saving all 5 Jinjos, as they are the only one that can reach the Jinjo on the reed. And they can collect 82 notes. There are 6 notes in Mr. Vile's house that only the crocodile can get into to collect. But the bee can collect these 3 notes that no other transformation can collect. As for the pumpkin, termite, and walrus, they sadly cannot collect any Jiggies, and also collect the lowest amount of notes with 79. These are the results. Now we're into the walrus's territory, Freezeezy Peak. Fans are hopeful the walrus can make up some ground here. The big advantage the walrus has here is that Waza will only give a Jiggy out to anyone who is also a walrus. That's how you get it done. There's another Jiggy that only the walrus can collect, and that's beating Boggy in a sled race. But to get Boggy ready to race, the walrus would need to bounce on Boggy by sliding a sled down the giant snowman's scarf and crashing into Boggy's stomach. Doing that only requires jumping on the sled to trigger the cutscene, but this cutscene doesn't activate for the walrus or the other transformations. They don't think they can make this jump, do they? Oh god. Now normally, another advantage the walrus has is being able to endure the freezing temperatures of the water, but it appears the other transformations also have no problem with these temperatures, so that advantage is gone. Even the bee can collect the notes in the water given the shallowness. Truly inspiring. No shock to anyone, the bee easily grabs the Jiggy in the snowman's pipe. Looks like they found a way into the Christmas tree, where there are more notes to be collected, as well as on top of the giant snowman's hat. Overall, the bee does the best in Freezeezy Peak, as they're able to collect 1 Jiggy and 98 notes. The only 2 notes they can't collect being the one in Waz's cave. Very impressive. Walrus can still hold their tusk high as they do the second best, being able to collect 1 Jiggy and 80 notes, as they can't go into the Christmas tree or reach the hat of the giant snowman. And the other 3 can't collect any Jiggies and only 78 notes, 2 less than the walrus as they can't enter Waz's cave. Next, the transformations head to Gobi's Valley, uncharted territory for each of them. Let's see how the bee approaches this level. Looks like they're not fast enough to steal the Jiggy from Grabba. While the bee has the advantage of approaching from air, Grabba seems to be triggered at a certain distance, regardless if you're on the ground or not. What's this? The bee is able to push this button and open the top entrance into the pyramid. Seems like for some reason, this is the only button that can be activated by simply touching it. And of course, the bee has no problem getting to the top and inside the temple before the time runs out. Oh dear. Yes, this is not good for the bee. This pyramid is full of water, and only grabbing the Jiggy at the bottom of the pyramid drains the water. Alright, well, while the bee deals with this, let's check in with the other transformations. I think if there are any Jiggies these transformations can collect, it's going to be the one from Grabba or the water pyramid. Good effort from the termite. Nice attempt from Pumpkin. Come on, Walrus, you got this! It will not be enough. Nope. Okay, this is just that. There's no question Gobi's Valley is proving to be brutal in this competition. But our last transformation, Crocodile, is coming in hopeful and determined, as they have something else that separates them from the rest. For those who don't know, Gobi's Valley introduces us to the Turbo Trainers, a pair of running shoes that gives Banjo and Kazooie fast speed. And it's these Turbo Trainers that are intended to be used to grab the Jiggy from Grabba and to get inside the water temple before time runs out. And it just so happens, out of the 5 transformations, the Crocodile is the only one that can use them. These shoes are even available back in Bubble Gloop Swamp in Mr. Vile's minigame to make beating it easier, though honestly it's still pretty easy to beat without them. With this huge advantage, the Crocodile is coming in hot, and you just know they're thinking they can collect the most Jiggies in this level. Let's see how they do. Alright, they have the shoes on and they're making their way to Grabba. We can see the sparkling effects of the shoes. But wait, is it just me? Or are they not moving any faster? Oh dear, this is quite embarrassing, but it looks like the effects of the turbo trainers do not work for the Crocodile in this level. Likely because they were never intended to be here. There goes that advantage. Alright, back to the bee, who seems to have escaped the water pyramid. And they realize they can fly through these rings to collect a Jiggy, ensuring they don't leave this level empty-handed. We can see the other transformations tried this as well by jumping on the statues so that they could then jump through the rings, but the game would not allow it. Leaving Gobi's Valley, only the bee was able to collect one Jiggy, as well as 70 notes. Everyone else was also able to collect 70 notes, but unfortunately, no Jiggies. Time to get spooky, as next we head to Mad Monster Mansion, home to the pumpkin. The pumpkin makes quick work, finding a way onto the roof of this mansion and into this pipe where they can grab their first Jiggy. There's another easy Jiggy to collect, the one in a bucket in the water well, but reaching the well requires balance, careful maneuvering across these fences, and some jumps. Can they do it? Yes, well done. The pumpkin has made it to the area with the well and can now collect the Jiggy inside as well as the notes. Unfortunately though, without being able to break down doors or glass windows, the pumpkin can't really do much else. It looks like though the pumpkin has found a way onto the church roof, using this nearby tombstone for height. This will allow them to grab some more notes. There is a Jiggy at the top of this pole, but without hands to climb, this Jiggy will be out of reach for the pumpkin. Looks like the pumpkin will be leaving their home turf, collecting 2 Jiggies and only 51 notes. But that's still better than the Termite, Crocodile, and Walrus, as they are only able to collect 46 notes, 5 less as only the pumpkin can squeeze down this small pipe. And they can only collect the Jiggy in the well, and just barely for the Walrus. Let's see how the bee does. They should already know they can't collect the Jiggies in the pipe or in the water well. That's an easy Jiggy for them. And because of this chimney, the bee infiltrates the mansion and collects the Jiggy and notes inside, outperforming the pumpkin by just 1 note. On to Rusty Bucket Bay. This level should be interesting. The bee knows exactly what to do here, grabbing the Jiggy at the top of the ship. Looks like they found the Jiggy inside the shipping container, but like Mad Monster Mansion, without breaking down doors or windows, there's not much else the bee can do here. They do manage to grab 68 notes though. Rusty Bucket Bay is proving to live up to its name as a brutal level, and I think it's going to be even worse for these other transformations. For anyone who can't fly, grabbing this Jiggy on the exhaust pipe requires climbing ladders, so that's not going to happen. Impressive though to see the creativity these transformations use to get onto this higher ledge of the ship, but this is a dead end with only 2 notes. And there doesn't seem to be a way to surface out of the water in the shipping container with the Jiggy, perhaps saving the 5 Gingers as possible. Nope, that doesn't look like it will work. I don't think there's any way for them to reach this Jinjo. I think that's it for Rusty Bucket Bay. Let's look at the results. The bee outshines again with 2 Jiggies and 68 notes. Tied in second is the Pumpkin, Termite, and Crocodile with 0 Jiggies and 39 notes. And in last, the Walrus finds themselves in a familiar place with 0 Jiggies and 35 notes. 4 less than the other non-flying transformations because they couldn't make this jump. That just leaves the last level, Click Clock Wood. And this level is home to the bee. So things are about to get worse for the other transformations. You can tell the bee is feeling confident. That's 1 Jiggy, 2 Jiggies, that's a 3rd, and a 4th Jiggy from saving the 5 Jinjos. We haven't seen a performance like this since Treasure Trove Cove. And the bee collects 96 out of 100 notes. The only notes they can't collect being the ones in Naughty's house, which is blocked by a boulder. Yeah, I think it's game over for these other transformations. I was hoping for the sake of their self-esteem that they could at least collect the Jiggy in the treehouse and nearby ledge, but they just can't get past this part of the tree. They did manage to collect 54 notes though, so that's something. I'd also just like to point out that even though this is the bee's home, there's one version of the level where the other transformations can also feel like home. Spring for the Crocodile, summer for the Termite, fall for the Pumpkin, and of course, winter for the Walrus. Now, even though there are no more Jiggies or notes to collect, there are bonus Jiggies up for grabs. That's right, we still have Grunty's Furnace Fun and the fight against Grunty to do. Let's start with the Termite. Oh god, it looks like the Banjo Kazooie has broken out and has taken some weird shape, even though it's still the Termite. And this is something that each transformation experiences, except the Crocodile for some reason. Though, I do have a theory as to why, and it has to do with the minigame space on the board. Activating this space means having to complete one of 6 minigames. Gobi's Valley Memory Panel Game, Tip Top's Memory Choir Game, a fight with Boombox, a return to the Zubba's Battle, spelling out Banjo Kazooie backwards in the sandcastle, or completing another round of Mr. Vile's eating contest. The Termite, Pumpkin, Walrus, and Bee can't complete any of these minigames, as they all either require attacking or beak busting, and so because of this space, they can't beat Grunty's Furnace Fun. But the Crocodile, once again, has a slight advantage over the other transformations, as they can complete one of these minigames, and that's of course Mr. Vile's eating contest. This is why I think the Crocodile doesn't turn back into Banjo Kazooie after using the teleporting pad, because the Crocodile is programmed to be in Grunty's Furnace Fun. The least amount of minigame spaces that need to be activated to beat Grunty's Furnace Fun is 2. So if both of these are Mr. Vile's minigame, then the Crocodile would be able to beat Grunty's Furnace Fun. So because of that, they get an extra Jiggy in this competition. And of course the Bee can just completely fly over the board, but per the rules, the judges have deemed this as cheating, so no extra Jiggy for the Bee. It's all come down to this. This whole time, Grunty has been expecting Banjo and Kazooie, but instead, she's going to get the shock of her life when she sees these transformations. Or not. Wow, these transformations don't even get a fair fight. Grunty just immediately traps them in this box. Because Grunty can fly through floors and solid surfaces, they aren't even safe down here. They're just sitting ducks. She must be really scared to pull a move like this. But what's this? The Bee has managed to escape and get into the fighting arena with Grunty. But they are no match for this witch, as they have no attacking moves. But even if they did, there's no doubt they wouldn't work. Even beak bombing into Grunty in the first phase of the fight doesn't work. It has to be a specific attack in each phase to win this fight. So no extra Jiggies will be awarded here. With that, it's time for the final results. In 5th place, with only 5 Jiggies and 539 notes, is the Walrus. While they may be last, they're first in my heart. In 4th place, and just missing out on the podium, is the Termite, with 6 Jiggies and 561 notes. Taking home the bronze, we have the Pumpkin, with 8 Jiggies and 566 notes. Our runner-up is the Crocodile, with 9 Jiggies, thanks to the bonus Jiggy they received, and 567 notes. Even if they didn't get that bonus Jiggy, that one extra note they collected puts them in 2nd. And to the shock of no one, the Bee dominates the competition with 20 Jiggies and 640 notes. Love them or hate them, there's no denying the power of the Bee. Make sure to show these transformations your love and support through liking and commenting on this video. And with that, I want to give a shout out to these special supporters: Sinistar Man, XCube0, David Baden, Charm City Gamer, Clone Trooper Wheeler, Serena Bliss, Nice Gamer Music, Young Smoky VP17, Real Backfish, Rebecca Lyons, Phoenix Lazuli, Leberg, Puddles Megan, Koi13, and Arcus Kale. And Blue Pikmin is the best Pikmin, and if you say otherwise, then Louie will eat your soul. Also, this is a completely real name.